In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that I use to help me best learn, and then I'm going to talk about some of the ways I can demonstrate my learning to other people. First of all, I like to talk and brainstorm ideas with other people because sometimes when we work together, our ideas can come together and help us understand a concept. Another thing I really like to do is hands-on work. Doing an experiment to demonstrate a concept really helps me understand the concept much better than just having somebody explain it to me. I also really like to learn visually. Seeing a picture or a diagram really demonstrates how something works together. It also really helps if I draw out the concept, so I make a model or a diagram that demonstrates the concept so that I can think of it in a more visual way, and that's because I really like to learn visually. If I learn something to song, that really helps as well. There's lots of great videos to help explain some really tough scientific concepts out there on YouTube that are songs, and the song gets stuck in your head and it's catchy and it helps you remember. I also find it really helpful if I build a model of something. So if we're learning about the structure of molecules, using a model kit to build the molecule and see what it would look like, because they're so tiny to see, is really helpful for me. I also really like moving around when I'm doing my learning. Sometimes when I have to sit for too long, I get really fidgety and I can't think anymore. So sometimes when I was a student, I would sketch and doodle to help, make my brain move. But if I could actually get up and move around and do some of my thinking moving, it really was helpful for me. There's also lots of different ways that we can show our learning, and we'll talk about those now. One thing we could do is write a song about a concept, and if you can take that concept and consolidate it and write lyrics and even music to it, that would really help. Even writing a poem would be good if you're not that musical. Also, taking a couple of minutes and explaining the concept to a friend or even a parent or somebody else is really helpful, because then you can start working through the ideas and verbalizing them and finding out where you might have some gaps, where you might need to go back and rehearse some things. Lots of times we'll demonstrate our understanding through writing something down, but there's different forms you can do that. You could write a report. Like if we did an experiment, you might write a lab report. Or if you're in English class, you might write an essay about the novel you read. Or you could write a story, a poem, lots of different ways of writing down your ideas. One of the things I really liked doing when I was in school was writing out cue cards, because when you write a cue card, you read over the note that you might have taken that day, and then you consolidate the information and condense it down into the most very important things. Just writing out a note over and over again isn't always the best way of studying for a test. So writing cue cards helps you stop and think and decide what you're going to write down, and that's really helpful in showing your learning. Sometimes a great way to show your learning is to write it in a way or explain it in a way that somebody really young, like a small child, could understand, or writing it really, really complicatedly that a university professor could understand it. So not just reciting the information that you learned, but changing it and becoming an expert on it to write something that's for a university professor. And you even still have to become an expert on it to be able to understand how to explain it to someone that's a lot younger than you, so that they can still understand it. Some people are great at acting, so you might want to write a skit and act it out, or a puppet play and demonstrate it. Again, it would be like explaining the concept in a way that somebody else, a different audience, could understand. And if you can explain your learning for different audiences, you really have learned the concept. Another way to show your learning is to create a video and post it on YouTube. There's so many different video making apps. You could film yourself with a friend, or you could use Viddle, which is the application I'm using right now, or there's Adobe Spark Video, there's Powtoon. There's so many free apps that you can use and tools that you can use to make videos. This is another fun activity you could do. You could create a board game or a card game or some form of game that helps teach the concept to somebody else, but they get to play a game to learn it. So this would be a way of consolidating your learning and expressing it in a different way. And lastly, one way that you could demonstrate your learning is by creating a concept map or a sketch note. And this just visualizes your learning with some text as well to help show how different concepts connect together. So these are all different ways that you can show your learning and all the different ways that I liked to learn myself.